Now, for our first conversation of the day, Namibia's government says the country remains a safe and stable place to live, adding that those seeking asylum in foreign jurisdictions do so out of personal choices. Now, reports have, however, surfaced that a significant number of Namibians left the country seeking refuge in the United Kingdom. To help us clear the matter, we are joined by the British High Commissioner to Namibia, Charles Moore. Very good morning, Mr. Moore. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Morning, Deborah.
All right. Now, just to clear the air, what is Britain's stance when it comes to Namibians seeking asylum in the United Kingdom?
Well, our stance on asylum doesn't recognise any different countries, so it's the same. We treat all asylum seekers the same, and anybody turning up in the UK who claims asylum, we allow in. There's a period where we have to understand why they're claiming asylum. Their application is fully assessed, comprehensively assessed. It takes quite a long time because there are a lot of asylum seekers who reach the UK. And once the asylum application is determined, they may either be allowed to stay or they may be asked to leave if their asylum application is declined.
All right. What declines an application, or what are some of the factors that influence an application to be declined?
Well, there's so many factors involved, and that's why it takes a long time, because we comply with all of the international conventions about asylum seekers, and we want to make sure that everybody who is trying to flee from conflict or from persecution, which is principally what asylum is designed to do, we want to make sure that everybody is safe, that they are not sent back to a place of persecution where they may come to harm. And so we have to go through things, we have to go through so many issues to determine where they've come from, what reason they're fleeing, whether they are safe to be returned, and whether they could stay in the UK or whether they should be returned to a safe country. Because the principle of asylum, if you're fleeing persecution and you're seeking asylum, you should seek asylum in the first safe country you come to. And in many cases, the UK is not the first safe country that many people come to. So we have to take all of these issues into account, and we assess every application on its merits.
All right. Now, we have a number of Namibians who are seeking asylum in the United Kingdom, and most of their application has been rejected. What do you make of this?
Well, I think the media reports that came out this week have also included some misinformation and obviously a lack of understanding about what asylum is, what it's for, and how we assess asylum. So this isn't a new case. I mean, we've had Namibians over the years seeking asylum in the UK for a variety of reasons. There are figures going back to 2002, and it may have been just one or two then. But over the past year, we've had a huge increase in the number of Namibian asylum seekers reaching the UK. And they arrive in the UK legally because they don't need a visa at the moment to visit the UK. And when they arrive at the border, they claim asylum. We have to consider, first of all, have they come from a place of conflict? Have they come from a place where they are being persecuted for their religion, their gender, their LGBT status, anything like that? And the answer basically for Namibia is no. I mean, as the government has said, and as we fully agree, Namibia is a safe and a stable democratic country. There is no state-sponsored persecution from which Namibians should want to flee.
All right. Is it because are these investigations done individually per person, or is it according, to where they are coming from as a country? Or do you look at, yes, the country that they're coming from, and you're like, okay, they're coming from Namibia, so Namibia is peaceful and safe, so they can go back?
Well, it's not that simple, but every country, the immigration officers in the UK, when they're assessing these asylum applications, yes, they do look at every individual case. They look at the reasons for asylum having been claimed, but they also have a framework for every country to say, to guide them in what the country is like. So there are some countries, obviously, where a lot of persecution exists, where people are persecuted, if not imprisoned or even killed for being a particular religion or a particular or having a particular belief. We don't see any of those issues for Namibia. There is no persecution that takes place by the government, which means that someone should claim asylum. And asylum is not really there for people who are running away from family or religious issues or tribal issues, which they may perceive to be putting them in danger. If the state provides security and safety, and does not treat its citizens badly, then the claim for asylum is probably not realistic.
All right. Now, the two governments need to agree, Namibia as well as Britain. They need to agree on the return process. How do you think this will go?
Sure. Well, yes, you're right. I mean, when we have asylum seekers in the UK, some of them don't have passports or papers. So when we're talking about returning asylum seekers whose claim has been denied, we obviously need to make sure that we're sending people back to the right country. We need to do that in conjunction with governments as partners. Again, this isn't new, but there has been this hiatus, obviously due to COVID. Applications have slowed down. We've had a massive influx of refugees from Ukraine, which has made the process even slower. So once we determine that an asylum seeker should not be granted asylum in the UK, we need to work with that government to make sure they have papers to come back, that they will be allowed entry when they come back, and to make sure that they won't be in any way harmed when they return.
All right. Now, what will happen to those who resist deportation? To be
Well,
deported, yeah.
When somebody's application is declined, they are asked to leave. And that's the same with every country. Indeed, recently in Namibia, we've had a case where a British citizen overstayed their visa. They didn't claim asylum, but they overstayed their visa and they broke the immigration rules of Namibia, and they were removed to the UK. The same applies in the UK. Somebody can leave voluntarily, especially if they have their documents. If they don't have documents, we can help them through the Namibia High Commission get travel documents, which will be acceptable on arrival. If they don't want to leave voluntarily, then they will be subject to arrest and administrative removal. That doesn't mean that they're treated as criminals, but they are in breach of our immigration laws, and therefore, like the British gentleman we had to send back recently for overstaying in Namibia, then they will be put on a plane and deported.
All right. So we see that a lot of Namibians are seeking for asylum in the UK. Will you be able to fund all these people to come back to Namibia, or are they supposed to fund themselves?
No. I mean, it's our responsibility. If we make the decision that someone can't stay in the UK, then we're not expecting people to fund their own flights. I mean, if they return voluntarily, then that is a cost that falls to them. But if they refuse to leave voluntarily, then we would have to pick up the costs to remove them. And this isn't a new issue. There are well over 1,200 applications for asylum outstanding from Namibians, which each have to be assessed. We haven't. It's important to say, because the news information, the media information this week has suggested that we've already sent back 250 or so people, and that we're going to send back another 1,000. We haven't started that process yet. There have been returns. I think in the past 3 years we've sent 31 Namibians back to Namibia, and we know that there are still probably about 500 or 600 who are removable. So they've had their applications declined, they've overstayed their visas, and so they have been asked to leave. It's not something that's large scale, it's something that's ongoing, and obviously we do this with many countries. It's just that the volume of Namibian asylum seekers whose applications are declined is really high. I mean, 91% are declined, and that really shows that there's no reason to claim asylum from Namibia. There's no risk of government persecution, which means that someone needs to seek asylum in the UK, and that's why 91% of people are effectively declined.
All right. Now, you did mention that the process did not start yet. When will the
Well,
process be starting?
and the process has been ongoing,
Okay.
and one of the issues is that when we were in the EU, we used what we call an EU letter, and that was just accepted by the Namibian immigration authorities. When somebody returned, they recognised that they had an EU letter issued by us, which asked them to allow this person back into the Namibia. Obviously, withdrawing from the EU and then COVID, we've got to set up a new process, and that's what we're working with the Namibian government to do, both the High Commission in London and with the Namibian government here. And it's not something that's new. We've been sharing concerns about the volume of Namibian asylum seekers over the past year, and we've been keeping in close touch with this, and we're very pleased with the cooperation and help that we're getting from the Namibian government to assist us with this.
All right. High Commissioner, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Are there perhaps any final remarks?
Well, asylum is a major issue, and it's not an easy issue. There's lots of complexities. I think governing all of this is that we don't start with any prejudice about the country that people come from or even the tribe that people come from, and there's been some concern about that as well. The tribal origin is a complete irrelevance to us, and we take every application on its merits. And asylum is it's about protecting our borders. And on that point, I mean, it's just relevant to say that, as I said, a huge influx of Ukrainian refugees that we've had, which has caused a lot of problems in our immigration system over the past couple of years. Today marks the 1-year anniversary of the invasion by Russia of Ukraine, and I think it's a poignant moment. But there was a vote yesterday where 141 countries in the United Nations agreed to uphold the UN Charter, and I think that's a significant message. And so expressing solidarity with my EU and G7 colleagues is something that would be welcome today.
All right. High Commissioner, thank you so much for joining us this morning and just for clearing up the matter.
Thank you very much.
All right. That was the British High Commissioner to Namibia, Charles Moore, giving us more details on the Namibians that are seeking asylum in the United Kingdom. And he did mention that for those that will be deported, their applications were basically not approved.